Speaking of reliability, a podcast with good friends talking with you about reliability engineering topics. Welcome to Speaking of Reliability. This is Fred Schenkelberg.
And this is Dianna Dini.
Hey, Dianna. I think you mentioned the last time we were chatting, and we also had talked about it as a topic, but you seem to come to the world mostly as a quality engineer, manager, consultant type person.
Yes, I've been involved in quality, and I like quality a lot. That's where I started.
Okay.
I started in process engineering and was exposed to quality, and then that quickly shifted a little bit for a while into reliability engineering too.
Well, one of the things I wanted to, I don't know if it's a challenge or just what your thought is, and I'm sure you've heard of Hewlett-Packard and like HP printers and calculators and all kinds of other stuff they have, right? At one point, Dick Moss, who was the corporate quality manager, and he mostly did reliability stuff, but he was titled quality manager in case somebody wanted to visit the quality manager at the company. Mm-hmm. And he was a great guy. He knew the company really well. But he said HP, he phrased it as it's 39 loosely affiliated feudal baronies, is the way he described the corporation. And the divisions were all very, very independent. You know, they basically had their own lines and they get organized whichever way they wanted. And very, very few, almost none of the 39 to 50 divisions that existed had an identified reliability engineer. Very, very few. And maybe 10 of the 40 or so divisions had, all of them had a quality manager at some place in the organization, but very few had a quality staff at all. And it started with Bill and Dave, the founders of the company, saying, that's just everybody's job. You know, we don't need a separate department because then it offloads the responsibility to create a quality and reliable product. And they pretty much influenced a lot of different organizations you don't need a quality team to do quality. That's mechanical engineer's job. That's the program manager's job. That's all the stuff. But I don't know if you've kind of got into quality and all that stuff. Did you work in some quality teams and all that kind of stuff?
I did. A lot of my experience is with medical devices, and there's a heavy emphasis on quality in that industry.
Yes,
and also regulated too. But yeah, quality is everyone's responsibility, but nobody really goes to school to be a quality person, right? They're exposed to it on the job and they like it for some reason. And we all self-study, take certifications, go to conferences and talk to other people, listen to podcasts to learn more about it. Mm-hmm. And just through learning that, you kind of gain a different perspective of things. But not everybody is attracted to quality and reliability, which is why there aren't so many of us, right? People are still working at the business and they were exposed to quality reliability engineering, but they chose not to do it. They chose to stay in design or in test, and that's fine. We need all sorts of people with different expertise and backgrounds to kind of run the world.
Well, that brings up though, this isn't going to be a debate on whether you have a department or not, or a silo according to quality. And in my experience, you can have a well-organized, well-oiled quality department that just gets in the way and actually impedes progress, or vice versa, one that really enhances the organization's abilities and supports what's going on. And vice versa, you can have, like at Hewlett-Packard, you can have no department and you do just fine, and you have no department, and then everybody thinks, or the whole staff thinks everybody's got to do it, which means that somebody else is doing it and somebody wasn't hired or something like that. So that nobody does it or whatever there's some fancy way of saying that, but you know what I mean, is that
Yes.
It's not my job. Everybody else has it. And if everybody thinks that, then nobody has it. And then you have a dismal product and system. Either way, if you're quality minded, I think phrase it that way. And I'm sure you've heard this is, they just get I had one team, I was asking about a fracas program, right? So how during development, how many, how do you handle all of the defects and issues and stuff that come up? How do you manage all that? And they said, we have two different ways to do it. One is, if I can just solve it, I just solve it. If it's just within our department, that's something that we need to deal with, we put it over on that chalkboard over there. This is a while ago. Put it on the board over there, and then we just deal with it in our team. But if it's like goes beyond what our team can do, or it's an issue that's from some other part of the team, we have to tell the quality department. And I says, well, why don't you tell them all the time? It says, because if you tell them everything, then they're going to ask us for updates every 5 minutes. They are just a pest. So they really limited what they would tell them, because otherwise the process of setting deadlines and making assignments and sending reminders and getting updates for their daily meetings and stuff just became overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yes.
I've also experienced people not wanting to tell quality stuff because of a fear of they'd push that big red stop button and just put a wrench in everything from their point of view.
Well, it's the what's the quintessential Hollywood quality engineer is a white coat and a clipboard at the end of the line. Going good, bad, good, bad. There's so much more to quality engineering than that. And that's the way I grew up as in a manufacturing facilities. We used SPC and all these different quality tools, and we had quality circles. But as the shift supervisor, I was in charge of that. That was my role to do that stuff. And as a manufacturing engineer, if we wanted to run an experiment to reduce yield, we pulled out our toolkit of quality tools to go sort it out. And I think it was before it was even called being a black belt, but it was get a team together, do all this stuff that I recognize now is in the quality engineering body of knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. A big part of quality engineering is helping to facilitate and coach other people in the use of quality tools, or just if someone's experiencing a problem, being able to help them identify some actions that they can take with their team. Mm-hmm. And sometimes
you come up with the solutions. I mean, you're an engineer after all.
Yeah. Come on. That's true. Another big part of it though is the data part. Just making sure that the data that you're collecting is meaningful and that it's appropriate, that it was collected in the right way. And engineers are most associated with the test method validations, gauge R&R, and those kind of activities. But it could also get into complaint analysis from the field, or how the managers are monitoring their monthly progress reports. Is it just a red light, green light, or are they doing something more with the data? And quality engineers can certainly help with that kind of thing too.
Oh, certainly. Now, there is a design for reliability. There's a design for manufacturing. There's design for the environment. I think there's design for every letter up to X, as far as I know.
Yeah, and X is all encompassing, I think.
That's right. Yeah. Is there a design for quality? Ha. I don't know if I've ever heard of that, but it's, there's a famous company or a famous slogan for a company that quality is job one or something like that. And yeah, shortly after that, I got in one of their cars at at a car rental place, and the door wouldn't close. It wouldn't align at all. And the car had 3 miles on it. I said, yeah, this is showing that quality one thing. Ship it, whether it works or not. I had to lift it about 2 inches for it to close. So then I went back to the rental counter and said, no, I'm not taking that car. He says, yeah, you're the third person this week that said they wouldn't take it.
Well, I drive one of those cars now, and I think it's just the cat's meow.
There you go.
I think it's awesome. So they fixed something in the 2000s.
That's good. That is good. But the idea is that there is a stereotype, and I think Hollywood doesn't help, and that is that there's the persona of the end of the line judge, or this is good or not good. And then there's plenty of cases. And then you hear the same thing with some people saying, hey, we need to do an FMEA. Oh, it's boring. I hate, we never learn anything, blah, blah, blah. And it comes down to it's got to be done well and facilitated well. And I think that's the same with the quality program.
Yeah. The facilitation of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, there's one quality team I ran into was if it's not a written down procedure, you can't do it. And the design manager is sitting there going, I'm inventing a new way to solve this product. There's no way I can write down what we're going to do because we haven't created it yet.
Yeah.
And they're having that argument. And I'm like, back off, quality dude.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the compliance way of thinking.
Yeah. And I think, quality's evolved, right? It started with that compliance stuff.
Yeah. And then it's also got to be about proactive assistance, being of service to the greater company with the skills that you have and just being confident enough in your skills and what you know to be able to know that you can make a difference and you can make a positive impact and help these people make decisions with the good kind of data that you know how to collect.
Maybe that's why people don't like quality and reliability folks, is that we like statistics. Maybe that's the separator. Yeah,
with the just having data.
Well, and going, where'd this come from, and what's the measurement error, and understanding what a confidence bound versus a confidence interval is, and confusing people with a derivation of the normal distribution or some other arcane thing.
Yeah. And then I find another limiting thing is just the acronyms.
Oh yeah.
There's just, if you know the stuff and it's your specialty, you can start rattling off a bunch of acronyms and the people that, aren't in that world aren't going to follow you.
No.
So that's a matter of being able to communicate the broader ideas with the rest of the team and what value it has.
Yeah. Well, that's true of any discipline, I think. If you can't explain it to others, one of the things that makes it even more of a challenge in quality, it's one of the very, very few roles within an organization, whether you're in a department or not, is you get to work with suppliers and vendors, hopefully not only when there's a problem, but that's often when we get called into it. You get to work with a design team. In the better organization, you actually work with the design team to what's important, what are we trying to achieve, what's critical to quality, those kind of things. We get to work with manufacturing, we get to work with the customers and customer complaints and returns, and you get to work with the marketing. If you're really sharp, you get to work with every department and every level of the organization. Mm-hmm. Whereas a program manager maybe is the only other role I know of that can do it. But the director of software, they work on their software part of it. They might interface with the hardware guys a little bit to, we need this timing or we need this amount of memory or whatever. But it's everybody else that designs the product are typically pretty siloed. Whereas the quality team comes in and they can walk across the organization and everything matters.
Yeah, and that is what's fascinating and fun about it. It's just working with the different people across the organization on a common topic. That can also be a source of frustration that you have to constantly work between these different departments. You kind of
Especially when they
we
don't
all
want
just
to
work together?
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when they don't want to work together. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had an experience where there was a process being transferred from the north to somewhere in the south.
Mm-hmm.
And the north corporate people and the south facility people, they really just didn't get along very well. And they didn't want to talk, but but we were developing this new process based off of an old one, and the old one had some problems.
Mm-hmm.
So this was early on in quality, that I went with two of the corporate people. We flew south, and I facilitated an FMEA meeting. And the comments that I got were that, wow, this was the best we've ever worked together. The corporate people were learning from the facility, and the facility people were learning from the corporate people. And they came up with really great action items to take with this new product line and with the old one to
Mm-hmm.
improve it. And everybody was feeling good. So it's just you take these ill will feelings and, oh, great, we got to work together.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to do this? And then just some of these quality tools just act as a framework where people can communicate and work out a problem with a common goal. And that's what I really find fascinating. And that's what I enjoy the most.
I mean, that's a good aspect of it. There's no doubt about it. And the other thing I think that you bring to the table, and any good quality person would do, is here's a framework, here's a set of tools. This will help us in being adept at applying it. But it's also listening and making it a safe space so that they can feel like they can talk.
Yes.
And that's part of the soft skills side of it, which I think all engineers would benefit from. Well, a lot of people would benefit from.
But yeah, not just engineers, everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a combination of, I mean, sometimes it's as simple as we just need to do a brainstorm here. All right, let's do it silent. So we shut down the loud, overbearing person that says, oh, I've got the solution. I'm going to do this, that, the other thing. And then you're all fools for not doing this right away. Why do we sit in here? All right, we're going to brainstorm for 5 minutes, quiet, just write it down. Then we'll put them up, and then we'll take a look at it. And then you do an infinity chart, or you do, some other way to narrow it down and sort out a good idea. And sometimes just 5 minutes with two tools. Now we have a discussion.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal how that can happen. And I don't think it's part of, well, it's like you said, is that you're working with two different groups that normally don't want to work with each other. They have bad blood. I never get enough budget. They never listen to me. There's this, or I've had that happen with a software guy walking into an FMEA. He said, what are we wasting our time for? We don't need to spend 2-3 hours on this. I know exactly what I need. I need 3 more software engineers. I'm so far behind, blah, blah, blah. And at the first break, and it was just listing the problems and the magnitude of them, kind of what's going to fail and what's the severity of it. And it was with mechanical software and electrical guys there. And the software guy comes up and he goes, I have to apologize. Those electrical guys are just screwed. There's no way they can make this work. They need more help than I do. Oh, appreciate that. Now let's go solve that problem. Let's go figure out how, because software can solve anything. And he got his eyes lit up and he says, all right, well, let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
But I think it comes from the perspective, though, of I don't know who coined it or whatever, but it was the voice of the customer. The quality folks often pick up that mantle of, at the end of the day, we want to make a product that the customer's delighted in, that meets and exceeds their needs and expectations. And just that charter, and oftentimes I see that in the better programs, is we have a common goal here, folks. Let's make a product that actually works and meets the needs of the customers. Let's not make it what we think it should be without actually thinking about how customers are going to use it or need to use it. And then all these other tools are sometimes focused on consistency. Sometimes they're focused on the durability of it. Sometimes they're focused on actually hitting needs and latent needs and things like that. But a good quality team can really focus an entire organization to think about the end goal is to make a product that actually is delightful to use.
Yeah, that could be an important function. Like we were talking about, they're cross-functional. They work with lots of other departments on the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are in a department focused on your thing, you can get so close to the problem that you can't see the forest from the trees.
Yeah.
And I would agree that that's an important function of quality too, is just being that voice of the customer, that independent voice of the customer from what it is they're trying to do, and just reminding everybody and helping everybody to focus on that goal.
Yeah. And it comes across, I mean, in a practical sense, is working with a design team is you're looking at a drawing or you're looking at a set of specifications and there's bazillion different things on there. All right, what's more important, the weight or the color? Which one do we need to really pay attention to? Because I can't, when we go to manufacturing or we go to suppliers or we do the next steps, we just don't have the budget to manage and control and monitor all of these things. Which 3 or 4 are critical and for this thing to actually turn on and work or to be functional or to do whatever? And then balance that with, well, what's marketing say? What's customers say? What does our history say? What are people complaining about? HP had their little ink cartridges. The number one complaint was the little tape that was on it covering the nozzles so they wouldn't leak in the packaging. Until years and years later, they figured out how to create a small vacuum in there to keep the liquid in until you first energized it, and then it would break that meniscus basically, and then it would start working, but it wouldn't leak. But you didn't have to take the tape off, because the number one complaint across the corporation by far was, my cartridge is not working. Well, did you take the tape off?
Okay. I remember that.
Yeah. And they try to make it as obvious as you can possibly get it, but it was, I mean, they sold gazillions of them, and gazillions of people didn't do that step, and it wouldn't work. And so they called customer support. And it was, well, the quality tool Pareto. It was, I don't know if it was a total of 80% of the problems, but it was pretty darn close of the calls.
Well, so then they knew to improve their customer experience and reduce complaints and all that they knew that was a product feature that they needed to fix or to work on. Oh,
it's like the phones. Now many of them are moisture, or what do they call it? Moisture resistant? They don't say waterproof.
Yeah, no.
I'm not going to say that.
Moisture resistant. I guess that's the term.
Yeah. But the more you can do that proactively, the better. Mm-hmm. And the trick is getting it right so you align with the customer. And it varies all over the map. Every organization has a slightly different way of doing it. But that role within an organization to be the voice of the customer, to bring the data analysis, to help people make decisions, that has to be there, because we get so focused. So, and you said it well, we get so focused we don't see the other options.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I agree with that too.
Well, it sounds like you would, if you had to do it all over again, you'd still get into quality.
I think I would. It's a lot of fun. And when you find something that's fun and valuable, that's half the key to a working life anyway.
Oh yeah, I agree. Besides, it's fun. The best way to I think it's, if you're more on the statistics side, is the best way to make a statistician happy is give them a pile of data.
Yeah. With the statistical engineers now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, cool. So if you're listening to this, if you've, and Dianna and I both know that there's so many variations to this, and so different ways people look at quality and quality organizations. What's your take on it? And knowing some of this audience is in the design world, and some is in the asset management or facilities world, and some of us are in the reliability or quality space, and others are in the design or maintenance spaces. We all have different views of the organization. What's your take? What's the role of quality in your organization? What's working and what's not working? And we'd love to hear your stories. You can do that over at accendoreliability.com/go/SOR. And you can leave us a voice message, or you can leave us a written comment. You can find Dianna and I and the other hosts of the show on LinkedIn or on our About pages. And we certainly look forward to hearing from you, and just a little different view of, how do you see the role of quality within your organization, and might make a really good topic for a future episode. So with that, Dianna, I think we'll wrap this one up.
That sounds good. Nice chatting with you.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for listening to Speaking of Reliability. We invite you to join the conversation. If you have a question or a topic that you think we should discuss in a future show, please let us know. You can find a comment box below the episode show notes, or just leave a note as part of a review on iTunes.